No, because Michael Caine, you did the famous acting masterclasses.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
It was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Michael Caine disappeared for 7 days in 2022. No one knew where he was. His wife called him a lion, but she wouldn't say why. Then photos surfaced of him using a walking frame, struggling to get into cars. The truth was darker than anyone imagined. At 89, he had been hiding a condition that was crushing his nerves. The surgery was supposed to be routine, but something went wrong. By July 2025, fans got their first glimpse of what really happened. He was in a wheelchair, bandaged, being pushed by Vin Diesel. The man who once ruled Hollywood couldn't walk. Michael Caine was born as Maurice Joseph Micklewhite on March 14, 1933, right in the heart of one of London's roughest slums. The place was Rotherhithe in South London, where the air smelled of damp stone and old coal. His father worked at the fish market, earning just £2 a week, hauling crates of seafood at Billingsgate. His mother cleaned other people's homes for pennies, coming back home with sore knees and scrub-bruised hands. Their entire family squeezed into a 2-room flat without a proper toilet or running water. They shared one with a dozen other families. Maurice didn't sleep on a bed. He slept on a pile of old coats. On days when food was short, which was most days, his mother didn't eat just so he and his brother could. Then the war came. It was 1939, and German bombs began raining down on the docks nearby. The nights lit up with fire and fear. His family fled to Norfolk, moving into the homes of strangers to survive. But survival came at a price. Between 1940 and 1945, young Maurice lived off wartime rations so small they sound unreal now. Just 2 ounces of butter, 4 ounces of bacon, 8 ounces of sugar, not per day, per week, for the whole family. His bones didn't stand a chance. He developed rickets, a disease that bent his legs and damaged his teeth. He walked with a noticeable sway that never went away, and later, that very walk became part of what made him unforgettable on screen. By the time he was 8 years old, he only weighed 45 pounds. He was always in pain, always hungry, and the effects stayed with him for the rest of his life. In June 1948, at exactly 15 years and 3 months old, Maurice left school. He could have done well. He was bright, but his family needed money more than grades. His first job paid 10 shillings a week. He worked at a film company called Peak Films, starting out as a filing clerk, then becoming the tea boy. He poured tea for producers and executives, memorizing their conversations, watching actors during lunch breaks without making a sound. He snuck into bomb shelters not just to be safe, but because that's where they screened American films. That's where he fell in love with Gary Cooper and Humphrey Bogart. At night, he practiced their voices in front of a cracked mirror, using a broken piece of glass like a movie star's vanity. When his mother found his stash of movie magazines hidden under the mattress, she scolded him for dreaming too big. But that didn't stop him. The moment he got his first paycheck, £2 and 10 shillings, he spent every penny on a single movie ticket to see The Best Years of Our Lives. That film became his religion. His last name, Micklewhite, held more weight than most people knew. His grandfather was Jewish, which meant Maurice was Jewish too, even if nobody spoke of it. In the 1950s, being openly Jewish in the acting world was dangerous in Britain. Casting directors were subtle but brutal. They rejected anyone with names that didn't sound properly English. Maurice got turned away 47 times. By early 1955, he was exhausted. One rainy evening, as he waited for a bus outside the Odeon in Leicester Square, he looked up and saw the words "The Caine Mutiny" on the cinema sign. That was it. He chose the name on the spot. He legally became Michael Caine. It cost him £5 to make it official, his entire week's wages. His father never lived to see what that name would become. He died later that same year. Before the world knew the name Michael Caine, the man behind it went to war. In November 1952, he was shipped off to fight in Korea with the Royal Fusiliers. What happened there scarred him forever. On March 7, 1953, during a patrol near Hill 355, his unit was ambushed. 12 men went out. 8 were gunned down instantly. Michael only survived because he tripped over barbed wire and fell into a ditch. He lay there for 6 hours, freezing in 15-degree cold, surrounded by bodies. When Chinese soldiers walked among them checking for survivors, he didn't move. He didn't breathe. He pretended to be dead, covered in blood that wasn't his. That night changed everything. He nearly lost 3 toes to frostbite. But more than that, he lost any fear of death. That experience gave him what he later called his most powerful weapon, his calm. His Korean War medal became his most prized possession, more valuable to him than any Oscar. After returning home, he got a small, uncredited part in a film called A Hill in Korea. In 1956. The reason he was picked wasn't for acting, but because he moved like a real soldier. He had lived it. But that didn't mean success came easy. Just weeks after filming, he forgot his lines during a performance of The Seagull at the Richmond Theater. The stage manager screamed at him in front of 200 people, telling him he'd never work again. He was humiliated, frozen in place, barely able to speak. He spiraled into depression, took a construction job carrying steel beams for 8 pounds a week, and seriously considered quitting acting forever. In 1957, while performing at the Lowestoft Repertory Theater, he juggled 30 different roles in 25 weeks. One night during The Importance of Being Earnest, he knocked over a stage lamp while reaching for a cucumber sandwich. The curtain caught fire, and a wall of flames shot 15 feet high. The audience screamed, but Caine didn't run. He grabbed a fire extinguisher, put out the fire, and stayed completely in character, joking that the weather was a bit warm. Smoke filled the room. The fire brigade showed up 20 minutes later. Caine kept acting, even with a scorched costume and singed eyebrows. He was fined 10 pounds for the damage, more than 2 weeks' pay. His name on paper was Michael Scott when he first joined the Actors Union in 1954 because someone else had already taken Micklewhite, but that name didn't stick. In 1964, everything changed for real. He was waiting for a phone call from his agent about a possible role in Zulu. Caught in a rainstorm near Leicester Square, he ducked into a phone booth. The phone rang, but an old woman answered first, asking for Michael Scott. Desperate not to lose the role, he blurted, "I'm Michael Caine." It was the name on a movie poster next to the booth. That accidental moment became permanent. He changed his name legally the very next day and signed the contract that would finally make him a star. Zulu was the moment everything changed. He played Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead. It was filmed in South Africa with more than 4,000 Zulu extras. He was 31 years old and had to learn how to sound upper class to break away from his working class image. The film was based on the real Battle of Rorke's Drift in 1879 and had a massive $4 million budget, huge for a British film at the time. His screen test impressed producer Stanley Baker, and suddenly Michael Caine was a name people remembered. Then came The Ipcress File in 1965. This was the role that created a new kind of spy, not the tuxedo-wearing James Bond, but a glasses-wearing, bacon-frying, ordinary man. Caine added that cooking scene himself. The whole film was done on a tight budget of just $280,000, and Caine earned only $4,000, but it grossed over $2 million worldwide. Audiences loved Harry Palmer because he felt real. This character got 2 sequels and made Caine into a serious box office force. In 1966, everything got even bigger with Alfie. Caine played a charming, careless womanizer who spoke directly to the camera, something rarely seen at the time. He earned his first Oscar nomination, up against legends like Richard Burton. The film was cheap to make, just $200,000, but it earned more than $10 million. One scene stirred outrage, a quiet, devastating moment where Alfie watches a backstreet abortion. The film was banned in Ireland and Spain. Britain gave it an X rating. Caine didn't earn much up front, but took a percentage of the profits, which netted him over $100,000, more than the pay from all his earlier roles combined. It didn't just change his life, it changed how the world saw him. Michael Caine's most famous line, "You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off," became a part of pop culture. But during the filming of The Italian Job in 1969, things went completely off script. In the Italian Alps, a stunt with an Aston Martin DB4 convertible was supposed to show the car gently tumbling off a cliff using a controlled explosion. Instead, the explosives went off too early and with far more power than expected. George Innes remembered it clearly. "The blast almost hit the entire crew," he said. "Nearly blew us all up. It was massive. The fire spread so fast the cast had to do a bucket chain from a small stream to try to put it out." Michael Caine barely escaped being run over in the chaos. The Aston Martin was destroyed. To stay on schedule, producers had to find a new car overnight. They ended up disguising a silver Lancia Flaminia to look like the DB4. Producer Michael Dealey wired instructions to the stunt team for the second attempt, saying it should go straight over the cliff without teetering. 2 years later, in 1971, Caine made another bold decision. He turned down the chance to play James Bond. He didn't want to be trapped playing smooth, charming heroes forever. Instead, he took on Get Carter, a violent and cold gangster film. He didn't play it like fiction. He made it personal. He said, "Carter is the dead-end product of my own environment and my childhood. I know him well. He is the ghost of Michael Caine." The film was shot in Newcastle upon Tyne, from July to September 1970. His stunt double's real name was also Jack Harter, adding another strange layer. The way he moved, the way he acted, it was so restrained and so sharp that it made British gangster films look completely different from anything before. In 1975, while filming The Man Who Would Be King with Sean Connery in Morocco, things nearly turned deadly. During a dangerous rope bridge scene, a stuntman named Joe Powell did an 80-foot fall onto boxes and mattresses. Director John Huston called it the darndest stunt I've ever seen. But Connery, who hated heights, almost refused to do his part. He asked Huston if the bridge was safe. Huston just said, "Sean, the bridge looks the way it always has. The only difference is that today, you're going to be standing in the middle of it." At one point, Caine confronted an assistant director over racist treatment of their co-star, Saeed Jaffrey. That film was shot partly in Morocco and partly at Pinewood Studio. It blended Indian classical music with European orchestration, led by Maurice Jarre, making it one of the more unique productions of the decade. By 1978, Caine appeared in California Suite, playing a gay husband opposite Maggie Smith, who won an Oscar for her role. But Smith had a reputation. Caine warned Michael Palin years later, "Watch her. She'll have that scene from under your feet." Richard Burton had said the same, that she didn't just steal scenes, she committed grand larceny. The film told 4 stories in one Los Angeles hotel, and even though the cast was packed with stars like Jane Fonda and Bill Cosby, Smith's performance took over every scene she entered. The same year, Caine made a film that he later regretted deeply. The Swarm was about killer bees attacking cities. It was a disaster. The idea was already far-fetched, but the execution made it worse. The bees were lured out to sea, doused in oil, and set on fire by helicopters. The movie flopped hard. Fred McMurray, who made it his final role, saw his career end on a low note. The $21 million budget barely got covered, and critics tore it apart. Yet somehow, it survived as a cult classic, but for all the wrong reasons. The next major moment came on March 29, 1987. Caine won his first Oscar for Hannah and Her Sisters, but he wasn't there. He was in the Bahamas filming Jaws: The Revenge. The film had started production in February 1987 and needed to finish by July. Caine later joked that he never saw the film, but "I saw the house it bought me." The film only made $51.9 million worldwide and is now ranked as one of the worst sequels of all time. His Oscar was accepted by Jeff Bridges and Sigourney Weaver. It was a strange contrast. Caine missed his moment of glory while making one of his most embarrassing films. In 1988, while filming Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Caine hurt his ankle during one of the physical comedy scenes. It was ironic. He was teaching Steve Martin's character how to fake being paralyzed to scam people. But off-camera, Caine ended up needing a wheelchair himself for several weeks. The film needed careful choreography, and the injury forced changes to the schedule. Caine later praised Martin's physical comedy, calling it a whole new world for him compared to the intense dramas he was known for. Then came a turning point in August 1987. Caine hosted Michael Caine on Acting, a TV masterclass where he shared techniques and painful stories. He revealed how casting agents in the 1950s told him he was too ugly to be a lead. One even told him, "You've got a face like a fish." That led Caine to adopt thick-rimmed glasses, partly to cover what he thought were flaws. That single change became his signature look. The special later earned a high IMDb rating of 8.5 and inspired actors who didn't fit the classic Hollywood mold. In Mona Lisa, 1986, Caine played a violent gangster. The film went so deep into the London underworld that they filmed real scenes in actual brothels in Soho. One night, the police raided the brothel mid-shoot, not realizing it was a film set. For 3 hours, the cast and crew were questioned, while Caine sat there in full gangster costume. Some of the real workers even ended up as extras in the background, adding a strange layer of realism that no studio could fake. In Without a Clue, 1988, Caine flipped the Sherlock Holmes story on its head. He played an actor pretending to be Holmes, while Dr. Watson, played by Ben Kingsley, was the real genius. Caine went wild with the comedy, but the producers and the Doyle estate were horrified. One joke involved a murder victim being hit by a blunt excrement. Another scene had Holmes drunkenly stumbling through a crime scene, destroying evidence. About 12 minutes of Caine's material was cut. Even so, the film became a strange twist on the most respected detective in literature. In 1990, he played both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in a terrifying TV adaptation. The makeup transformed him into a nightmarish, troll-like creature. One critic wrote that the man's flesh seems to boil from a great internal heat. Hyde barely spoke, and his oversized bald head made him look inhuman. Caine played Jekyll as noble and good, making the transformation even more shocking. In 1992, he took on The Muppet Christmas Carol. You'd think he'd play it light, but he didn't. He told the director he would play it as serious as a heart attack. Surrounded by puppets, he never once broke character. That straight-faced dedication gave the film its heart. Today, it's considered one of the best Christmas films ever made. By 1998, he returned to serious drama with little voice. He played a sleazy talent agent exploiting a shy woman with a rare singing gift. Critics praised the performance, and the film received 30 nominations across various award shows. It showed again how Caine could shift from comedy to darkness without missing a beat. In 1999, he won his second Oscar for The Cider House Rules, playing Dr. Wilbur Larch, an ether-addicted doctor running an orphanage during World War II. It was a layered role. Larch performed illegal abortions and died quietly from ether overdose near the film's end. The film was nominated for Best Picture and premiered at the Venice Film Festival. It earned $88.5 million against a $24 million budget. In 2000, he joined Quills, a film about the Marquis de Sade. It was disturbing and explicit. Kate Winslet, who played a servant, admitted she hated doing the nude scenes. She said they had nothing to do with intimacy. The film shocked audiences, but was praised for its bold storytelling. When Batman Begins came out in 2005, Caine joined Christopher Nolan as Alfred. One scene involved a cave full of live bats. Caine was 72 and terrified. He later admitted he had a panic attack while filming, but that moment helped him connect emotionally to Bruce Wayne's fear. His performance made Alfred more than a sidekick. It made him a mentor full of real concern. In The Prestige, 2006, Caine played Cutter, an engineer building dangerous illusions for rival magicians. Some of the tricks were so complex that if anything went wrong, someone could have died. Caine's steady presence gave the film a sense of realism, even as it explored obsession, death, and illusion. Then came The Dark Knight in 2008. Heath Ledger's Joker shocked everyone. Caine admitted that the first time he saw Ledger in costume, he forgot his lines. He was genuinely frightened. Ledger died months before the release at just 28. Caine later said, "I hadn't even made Zulu when I was that age." The press tour became overwhelming. Every interview was about Ledger's death. The movie, though, became a modern legend. Finally, in The Great Escaper in 2023, Caine made his last film at 90 years old. He played Bernie Jordan, a real-life Wubby veteran who escaped a care home to attend the D-Day anniversary. It was also Glenda Jackson's final film before her death in June 2023. Caine filmed in constant pain, but he finished it, making it the final act of a career filled with risk, grit, and unforgettable moments. Michael Caine was just 22 when he married Patricia Haynes in 1955. Back then, he was a struggling actor with barely enough money to survive. He took soul-crushing jobs just to get by. He worked in a laundry, washed dishes, anything to stay afloat. It got so bad that he gave up on his own dream of acting because he believed Patricia had more talent. She had a better chance. When their daughter Dominique was born on August 14, 1957, the pressure only got worse. By 1958, their marriage had fallen apart. Caine later admitted that he blamed himself for everything. He said he couldn't handle it when their daughter came into the world. That time was so hard. There were even stories of him pawning Patricia's jewelry just to make rent. That act left scars in their relationship. For years, he was estranged from Dominique. Then something strange happened in 1971. Caine was at home watching TV when he saw a coffee commercial. In the background of that ad, he noticed a woman dancing. Her name was Shakira Baksh. The moment he saw her, he said his heart started pounding and his palms became sweaty. He got on his knees right in front of the television, staring at her. He said out loud, "This girl is amazing. I want to meet her." He thought she lived in Brazil and was ready to fly there just to find her. But then he discovered she actually lived in London. Through a friend in advertising, he got her number and called her over and over. Some say it was 10 days in a row. Others say 11 times straight. She kept saying no, but finally agreed to meet. When they met, he said he fell in love in 8 minutes. She took a little longer, 2 hours. They married on January 8, 1973. And somehow, through it all, they've stayed together for more than 50 years. But Caine's family story held secrets even he didn't know. In 1991, while he was filming in Los Angeles, a reporter researching mental institutions came across a man in a wheelchair. A patient pointed and said, "See him? That's Michael Caine's brother." Caine didn't have a brother, at least that's what he thought. thought. The man was David, born 8 years before Michael. His mother had given birth before marriage, while his father was serving in India. David had epilepsy. Out of shame, the family had him institutionalized with the Salvation Army, where he suffered brain damage from repeated head trauma. Caine had never been told, but the most shocking part was what his mother had done. She had visited David every single Monday for 67 years, except for the 5 years of the war. She told her sons she was visiting Aunt Lil. No one knew the truth. While all of this was hidden, in 1973, Caine and Shakira welcomed their daughter Natasha on July 15th. In 1992, Caine wrote his autobiography. It revealed something no one had guessed. His childhood had been filled with terror. His father, a heavy drinker, used to beat him often. He didn't just hit him, he terrified him. These beatings shaped the man Caine became. He grew up hating violence. That's why, even when he played tough roles on screen, he always refused to glorify brutality. His father's drinking turned their home into a place of fear, and that fear stayed with Caine long into adulthood. It made him cautious in relationships. It made him gentle as a father, and it also made him drink. He had his own struggles with alcohol, but when he met Shakira, she helped him get through it. In 2010, another dark secret came to light. Caine revealed what really happened to his father in 1955. His father was dying from liver cancer, barely conscious, suffering non-stop. Caine asked the doctor if he could just end it. The doctor said no, but then he added something strange. He told Caine to come back at midnight. When Caine returned, his father passed away at exactly 12:05 a.m. To this day, Caine believes the doctor gave him a final dose. That moment started national debates about assisted dying. Groups like Dignity in Dying used Caine's confession to push for legal change. But others argued that because his father couldn't give permission, it wasn't really assisted suicide. It was something much more complicated. Caine's life took another twist when his name was tied to a huge tax scandal. It wasn't in the 1970s like people thought. It was the Liberty Scheme. Caine tried to protect $600,000 through it. This scheme was massive, involving over 1,600 people who aimed to hide $1.2 billion from HMRC. The government called it morally repugnant. Other big names were also involved: George Michael, Gary Barlow, Katie Melua. In March 2015, the case finally reached court. Caine also talked about his teenage years in post-war London. The streets were dangerous. He joined what he called the most powerful gang in the city. Back then, walking alone could get you slashed. Gangs would sew razors into their hats. That's how violent it was. Caine said he only stayed safe because his gang was feared, but he made it clear, compared to today's gangs, they were like Mary Poppins. They drank alcohol, they fought with fists, but they weren't carrying knives or drugs. Then came the fall in New York. It was 2012, and Caine was walking on Lexington Avenue when he tripped and fell into a pothole. He needed stitches and rushed to the hospital. That same week, he was supposed to promote The Dark Knight Rises in Paris. Because of his injury, he couldn't go, but the Paris premiere was canceled anyway because of the Aurora shooting. Instead of being upset, he joked that the fall saved him from all the exhausting press events. His wife, Shakira, expected to find him sad in the hospital, but he was smiling. In 2018, something more serious happened. He slipped on ice and broke his ankle. He was 85 years old. The injury was kept quiet, but it was far worse than fans were told. He needed months of therapy. He began using walking sticks and later a frame. It wasn't just a small accident. It changed how he moved, how he lived, and in 2022, it got worse. He had to get spinal surgery. His condition was called spinal stenosis. It crushed his nerves and made walking painful. He stayed in the hospital for a week. His wife called him a lion. She said the surgery went well, but photos that came out later showed him using a frame, being helped into cars. Then came July 9th, 2025. Caine was seen in a wheelchair. Vin Diesel, his close friend, was pushing him outside the River Cafe in London. It was the first time the public saw him like this. He had another ankle injury, more complications, and had just left a private hospital. That dinner was for Diesel's birthday. Caine had a band-aid on his face. He looked tired, but he was still working. The two were filming an independent movie together called Mark and Maurice. Back in 2017, long before the wheelchair, Caine had decided to change his life. He wanted to see his grandchildren grow up. He quit sugar, salt, gluten. He lost 30 pounds. At one point, he drank a bottle of vodka every day and smoked packs of cigarettes. Shakira helped him stop. He said, "I've lost 30 pounds just because I want to see my grandchildren." At the time, they were all under 10, but now, in 2025, things feel different. Caine is 92. He said in an interview, "I am bloody 90 now, and I can't walk properly and all that. I sort of am retired now. Fans around around the world heard those words and felt the weight behind them. A man who was once unstoppable now speaks with quiet acceptance. But even now, in a wheelchair, in pain, with surgeries behind him and a lifetime of stories in his past, he's still creating, still finding ways to live with heart.